The challenge of oysters is that we need to get from here to here.
Yes.
And you're going to help us figure that out today.
Yes.
As I said, I've always
It is
wanted
intimidating.
a real lesson.
Yeah.
Me too. So here we go.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, when you're looking at them, it can look a little intimidating. You got a little pointy knife, you've got, sharp shells, and this is really hard. But, honestly, there's pretty easy ways to shuck them, and you just got to know how to do them. And if you mess up, if you're eating them just for yourself, it's okay. You don't have to be a professional. You can just shuck them, get the meat out, and enjoy it. But I will do my best to show you the best way to shuck an oyster.
So you have an oyster here with training wheels.
I do. So this is one that you can make at home. So this is an oyster that has been shucked, so there's no goodies in this one. But what you're really looking for is one that has a top and a bottom from the same oyster so that they fit together really nicely, and then get yourself a nice strong rubber band to put around there. And then all you need is a shucking knife. I would highly encourage that you wear gloves, especially when it comes to shucking the real deal, because you do have to use a bit of pressure. And the last thing we want is it not to be a fun time, because gloves will help keep it nice and fun and relaxing.
And safe.
And safe, exactly. Safety is, most important thing. So when you're shucking an oyster, this is my preferred way of doing it. You grab the knife. You want to try to actually pinch the knife blade itself. You don't necessarily want to hold on to the handle because you're pretty far away from the tip of the knife, so you get a little bit more control and a little better understanding of pressure when you kind of choke up on this. And what you're looking for is the back end of the oyster. There's this tiny itty bitty little spot that you can see right there, and that is the hinge. So this is the part of the oyster where it kind of can open and close, and this is ultimately where we're going to make it open. So what you want to do is you want to take the point of the knife and you want to just kind of feel around. You don't necessarily always go in parallel to the oyster. You don't necessarily go in like this. You want to try to find where that nice spot is. You can kind of rest the bottom of the knife on the bottom of the oyster. And what you are looking for, you put a little pressure in there, you can kind of wiggle around, but you want it to be able to sit on the knife and not fall off. Exactly, because once you hit this point, you've got enough, in there that you can open the oyster. So that's a good test. And, if you put it in there and it just falls right off, keep trying. And, at this point, if it starts to flake off again, if you're enjoying this at home, it's okay. Just keep trying, and eventually what you'll do is you'll get in there. So usually at this point I like to change the position so it's stuck on the knife, and what I'm looking for is to have my pointer finger at the ready. You turn this like a key and you can see it pops up.
I see.
And you want to hold it there with your finger if you can. Just kind of wedge the tip of your glove or your finger, or preferably a glove, in there, and that keeps it from closing. And then the next thing, the most important thing, is to get this bottom or the flat part of the oyster to release. You want to take the knife and go in at an angle like this, because what that does is it cuts the meat, and then all of a sudden this band or this rubber band magically disappears and the bottom should pop off just like that. What you're going to do is you're hoping to cut the muscle that connects to this dark spot. So without the rubber band, just so you can see, you go in, turn it like a key. I've got it propped up. I'm taking the knife, and you want to go in blade edge at the top and then run just like that. Just like a little sweeping motion, and then you should be good to go. And it should pop off. Yeah.
We're going to give it a try.
Exactly.
Then we need to do
one more thing, because at this point, if you try to slurp it, you're going to look a little ridiculous because the meat's not going to come out. It's still stuck on the shell right here in this dark spot. So what you want to do is you've got all this yumminess, all this meat in the oyster. You want to come in with the knife and just scrape right there where that black spot is. And you can kind of feel around a little bit, but you really just want to try to feel for the muscle, scrape it, and then it should move freely in the oyster shell.
Yeah, it has its natural juices in there, so you can you know when it's detached.
Oh yes.
Right.
oyster liquor.
Yes.
That's what it's called.
All right.
Oyster liquor.
Are you ready to give it a shot?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Okay. Are you going to do it with us?
I can, yeah. Absolutely.
Okay.
It's not a race.
I know, I'm not in any hurry.
We did lobsters one time. It started to become a race.
Okay, so step one, go ahead and
Get
choke
more
up on the,
purchase, choke up on the
exactly,
blade.
choke up on the blade a little bit. And again, you can kind of wiggle it. Sometimes it depends on the oyster, what you want. It's the oyster.
Oh, I got him.
I didn't have it good
Oh, I'm
enough.
losing the juice. The delicious juice. So I'm going to go like that, and then I'm going to turn the key.
Yep, turn the key. So you want it to stick on the blade.
I'm going to hold it open.
Hey, here we go.
Turn the key. Okay, you should see a little bit of an opening. Then you go in and just swipe. Whoops! And throw oyster shells everywhere.
They've been thrown around here before.
So I see my beautiful delicacy right there, and I've just
Perfect, you've got it.
cut. Is that called the foot, or is that only with like scallops or
That's more
abalone
with-
or?
Yeah, that's
So
with
it's called- what is it?
digging. Yeah, this is just a muscle to keep the oyster shell open and closing because these guys are filter feeders, so they open up just enough to let the phytoplankton and all the goodies that they filter out of the water in and then back out, whereas clams, they like to dig deep down. So you don't usually find oysters very deep in the mud.
It's good to know. I'm going for number 2.
Ooh, there you go. It's not a race.
No, and it's not scary either.
It's not.
No, it's amazing. I mean, this is.
It just goes to show when you know what you're doing, you can relax a little bit.
Yeah.
Or know what the next step is, I suppose.
I know. I've always been so anxious about doing it.
Well,
I
there,
think.
and maybe that's translates to the oyster, and he's not letting go. I think it's because when we see oysters being shucked, the person is either in a hurry or really, really good at it.
Yeah, we're
so it looks
professional.
like they can do it in 5 seconds, and
Yeah.
we don't have to rush.
Yeah, I'm not a professional. I mean, I've shucked oysters, obviously, but I'm not someone that, gets it perfect every single time. And
Well, what was it you told me? It was like 10,000
yeah,
before you're
10,000
considered.
oysters. Yeah, then you can consider yourself a professional for sure at 10,000 oysters, but I am not quite there yet, so.